My wife flew to Europe for a vacation before the wedding and told me that we need a break, then blocked me everywhere. I cancelled the wedding, and this crazy person started stalking me, even going to my mother's house. This happened over the past few months, and I'm still processing everything. Writing this out is partly therapeutic for me. Also, throwaway account for obvious reasons. I, 32M, was engaged to Sarah, 29F, for about a year. We'd been together for 3 years before that, and everything seemed perfect. She was funny, smart, and we shared the same values, or so I thought. Looking back, there were probably warning signs I ignored, but I'll get to those later. Our story began at a friend's destination wedding in Mexico. Sarah was the bride's college roommate, and I was the groom's cousin. We hit it off immediately, bonding over our shared love of true crime podcasts and our mutual hatred of cilantro. Yes, we're both cursed with the soap gene. The weekend ended, but our relationship was just beginning. Things moved quickly after that. Within 6 months, she'd moved into my apartment. By our first anniversary, we were talking about marriage. The proposal happened during a hiking trip, her favorite activity, and she cried happy tears when I pulled out my grandmother's vintage ring. It was perfect. She was perfect. Life was perfect. Our wedding was scheduled for August 12th, and in June, Sarah dropped a bombshell. She wanted to take one last solo trip to Europe before getting married. The timing seemed odd, being so close to the wedding, but I supported her decision. She said it was about finding herself and having one last adventure as a single woman. Red flag? Probably, but love makes you blind, and I was wearing rose-colored glasses with industrial strength prescription. Now, looking back, I should have noticed how she'd been acting differently in the months leading up to this trip. She'd become obsessed with social media influencers who posted about living their best life and not settling. She started making comments about how some of her friends were so brave for calling off their engagements to find themselves. But you know how hindsight works, it's always 20/20. She left for Europe in early June. The first week was normal. She sent photos from Paris, called regularly, and seemed excited about the wedding. She even sent me a picture of herself at the Eiffel Tower wearing her future Mrs. my last name, t-shirt that her bridesmaids had given her at the engagement party. Then things started getting weird. About 10 days into her trip, her messages became sporadic. When she did text, it was mostly cryptic stuff about really discovering herself and questioning everything she thought she knew. I started getting worried, but she assured me everything was fine. She'd post Instagram stories from different bars and clubs, always with groups of people I didn't know, and wouldn't respond to my messages about them. Then came the message. 2 weeks into her 6-week trip, she sent me a novel-length text at 3 a.m. my time, probably after a few drinks. I think we need a break. I need to figure out who I am without you. This isn't a breakup, I just need space to think. The pressure of the wedding is suffocating me, and I'm not sure if I'm ready to give up my freedom. Don't try to contact me. I'll reach out when I'm ready. Before I could even respond, she blocked me on everything: WhatsApp, Instagram, Facebook, even LinkedIn. Who blocks someone on LinkedIn? I tried calling her regular number, but it went straight to voicemail. I was completely in the dark, with a wedding in less than 2 months and no idea what was happening with my fiancé. I reached out to her best friend, Jessica, who gave me some BS about respecting Sarah's journey of self-discovery. When I pressed further, Jessica admitted Sarah had met some really interesting people in Amsterdam and was exploring new possibilities. She also let slip that Sarah had been having doubts about the wedding for months but was afraid to tell me because everyone was so excited about it. Here's where I made the decision that apparently made me the villain in her story. I canceled the wedding. All of it. Called the venue, a beautiful historic hotel that we'd booked 18 months in advance, the caterers, who were planning a custom menu featuring dishes from significant moments in our relationship, the florist, who'd been growing specific flowers for our centerpieces, the band, who'd learned our first dance song, everyone. Most were understanding, and since we were still within the cancellation period for many vendors, we didn't lose too much money. Though we did lose the deposits, which totaled about $15,000. I sent a mass email to all 175 guests explaining that the wedding was off, apologizing for the inconvenience, and asking for privacy during this difficult time. Several people had already booked flights and hotels, and I felt terrible about it. I even offered to help cover some people's non-refundable travel costs, especially elderly relatives who'd been saving for months to attend. I thought that was that. Oh, how wrong I was. Sarah returned from Europe 3 weeks earlier than planned. Apparently, her journey of self-discovery hit a snag when she ran out of money. She'd maxed out 3 credit cards, and the really interesting Dutch guy she'd been sleeping with turned out to be married with kids. According to Jessica, who later became my unlikely ally in this mess. The guy's wife had tracked them down at a hotel in Amsterdam and created quite a scene. Sarah had to switch hotels in the middle of the night and finally realized that maybe her European adventure wasn't the romantic escape she'd imagined. The first I knew of her return was when she showed up at my apartment at 2 a.m., mascara running down her face, demanding to know why I'd cancelled our special day. She was wearing the same backpack she'd taken to Europe, suggesting she'd come straight from the airport to my place. When I wouldn't let her in, she sat outside my door for 4 hours, alternating between crying and screaming about how I'd ruined everything. She kept yelling about how she'd made one tiny mistake and I was throwing away 3 years over nothing. My neighbors called the police, but by the time they arrived, she'd left. She did, however, leave a 12-page handwritten letter taped to my door, detailing every moment of our relationship and how I was destroying our beautiful love story. The letter included a page-by-page analysis of our first year's text messages, pointing out all the times I'd promised to love her forever. Yes, she'd apparently screenshots of all our conversations from when we started dating. Who does that? That was just the beginning. She started showing up at my workplace. She'd wait in the parking lot, trying to catch me as I left. My colleagues started escorting me to my car. The security team had to be notified, and they eventually had to ban her from the premises after she tried to tailgate another car through the parking garage gate. She created new social media accounts to message me after I blocked her original ones. The messages ranged from "I hate you," "You've ruined my life" to "I'm still wearing my engagement ring, please call me" to "I found this amazing wedding venue in Tuscany, we could start fresh there." She even created a fake LinkedIn profile pretending to be a recruiter to try to schedule a job interview with me. She sent letters to my office, pages and pages of alternating accusations and apologies. She'd include photos of us, ticket stubs from concerts we'd attended, even receipts from restaurants where we'd had memorable dates. My assistant started screening my mail and keeping a file of everything for legal purposes. The final straw was when she showed up at my mother's house at 7 a.m. on a Sunday. My mom, bless her heart, opened the door thinking it was me. I often bring her breakfast on Sundays. Sarah burst in, hysterical, begging my mom to talk some sense into me. She had a whole presentation prepared on her iPad about why I was overreacting and how we could still make it work. She'd created a PowerPoint titled "Why, My Name, and Sarah's Love Story Deserves a Second Chance," complete with animated transitions and background music. My mom, who's normally the sweetest person alive, went full mama bear. She told Sarah that if she ever showed up again, she'd call the police. Sarah's response? She laughed and said, "You can't keep me from my future mother-in-law." Then she proceeded to show my mom photos from her Europe trip, trying to prove that nothing really happened with the Dutch guy because they only kissed a few times. Narrator, they did more than kiss. That's when I got a restraining order. The hearing was last week. Sarah showed up with a lawyer and tried to paint herself as the victim. She claimed I'd emotionally abandoned her during her time of personal growth and that canceling the wedding without proper discussion was a form of abuse. She presented a 100-page binder of evidence, including screenshots of every unanswered text she'd sent from her new numbers, photos of her crying outside my apartment. Yes, she took selfies during her breakdown, a letter from her therapist, who she'd started seeing 2 days before the hearing, about her emotional distress. A detailed timeline of our relationship with color-coded flags showing when I demonstrated controlling behavior. Apparently, asking her to text me when she arrived safely in Europe was excessive control. Printouts of her credit card statements showing wedding-related purchases as proof of her commitment to the relationship. The judge wasn't buying it, especially when I presented my own evidence. Security camera footage from my apartment building showing her multiple unauthorized attempts to enter. The police reports from my workplace. Screenshots of her threatening messages from various fake accounts. Statements from my neighbors about her late-night screaming sessions. A disturbing email she'd sent to my sister claiming she might be pregnant with my child. She wasn't. We hadn't been intimate for months before her trip. The restraining order was granted, and Sarah is now legally required to stay at least 500 feet away from me, my home, my workplace, and my family members' homes. You'd think that would be the end, right? Nope. Yesterday, I got an email from her mother saying I'm a heartless monster who destroyed her daughter's life and dreams. Apparently, Sarah had already bought her wedding dress. News to me, she'd told me she was waiting until she got back from Europe, and now spends her days wearing it around their house, looking at our old photos, and planning our reunion wedding, her mother's words. Her mother's email included a 15-minute video of Sarah in her wedding dress, walking around their backyard to the song that would have been our first dance, while her mother narrated all the ways I'd broken her baby's heart. They'd even set up some of our engagement photos on easels around their yard. The whole thing felt like a scene from a psychological thriller. I feel like I dodged a nuclear missile, not just a bullet. The whole experience has been surreal, like living in a bad Lifetime movie. The worst part? Some of our mutual friends are actually taking her side, saying I should have waited for her to work through her feelings instead of canceling the wedding. They keep sending me articles about how to support your partner during a crisis and why fear of commitment is normal. One friend even suggested I was being culturally insensitive because Europeans have a different view of fidelity. I'm pretty sure infidelity is still frowned upon in Amsterdam, but okay. Am I crazy, or was canceling the wedding the only sane response to your fiancé blocking you everywhere while hooking up with some guy in Amsterdam? Edit 1, holy crap, this blew up. Thank you for all the support and awards. To answer some common questions. Yes, I have documentation of everything for the restraining order. No, I'm not planning to take her back, ever. The ring was my grandmother's, and yes, I got it back, through her sister, who's actually been really supportive. I'm in therapy now and it's helping a lot. No, I haven't watched the full backyard wedding dress video. My therapist advised against it. Edit 2, for those asking about the financial aftermath. We hadn't combined finances yet, thank God. The deposits we lost were mostly on her side of the ledger, we'd split responsibilities. Her European adventure was entirely on her dime, or rather, her credit cards. I'm not pursuing legal action for the lost deposits because I just want this chapter of my life closed. Yes, I did help some relatives with their non-refundable travel costs. Her parents demanded I reimburse them for the wedding dress. I declined. Edit 3, Sarah's mom just called my mom crying about how I'm humiliating their family on the internet. I didn't think she knew about Reddit, but apparently, someone in their circle found this post and shared it. I'm not taking it down. The truth isn't humiliating, her daughter's actions are. Edit 4, a lot of people are asking for the PowerPoint presentation. No, I won't share it. Despite everything, I don't want to expose her to that level of internet ridicule. Also, my lawyer advised against sharing any more details publicly. Edit 5, to the people DMing me their own similar stories, thank you. It helps to know I'm not alone. To the people DMing me to tell me their team Sarah, please stop. She made her choices. Hey everyone, firstly, thank you for all the support on my original post. A lot has happened in the past week, and I felt I should update you all. Remember that documentary Sarah sent to my family? Well, it turns out she didn't just send it to them. She posted it on TikTok, YouTube, and Instagram. The video is a mix of our old photos, screenshots of text messages taken completely out of context, and interviews with her friends who all paint me as some controlling monster. She even interviewed her therapist, definitely reporting that to the medical board. The video went semi-viral in our local community. My lawyer immediately sent cease and desist letters, and most platforms have taken it down, but the damage was done. I've had to temporarily deactivate all my social media accounts because her supporters kept harassing me. The unexpected twist? The Dutch guy's wife found the video and reached out to me. Turns out Sarah wasn't his only vacation romance. She's part of a support group for women whose husbands were targeted by, let's call them adventure seekers in Amsterdam. Sarah apparently has quite a reputation there. The restraining order violation hearing is next week. Between the video, dozens of fake accounts trying to contact me, and her showing up at my brother's wedding, yeah, that happened, we have a solid case for extending the order. On a positive note, I met someone new. We're taking things very slowly, but it's nice to be reminded that not everyone is crazy. Sarah somehow found out and sent my date a 10-page handwritten letter about how I'm emotionally unavailable. My date thought it was hilarious and framed it. That's all for now. My therapist says I'm making progress, and I actually believe her. Thanks again for all the support. Edit, no, I won't share the documentary. Please stop asking.